The Minnesota Twins hold the third largest division lead in all of baseball, and they look like they're well on their way to their third division crown in the last 5 years. And if you told me that before the season, I probably would have believed you. You know, Byron Buxton getting a full healthy season, the trade of Pablo Lopez to shore up that rotation, Yohan Duran in the back of the bullpen. The Minnesota Twins had a ton of things going for them going into this season, but perhaps the biggest of all was Carlos Correa on a 6-year, $200 million deal. He's been a beacon of consistency throughout his entire career, but this year he's enduring his worst funk ever. The former number 1 overall pick entered a stacked free agent class last offseason as one of the top guys around. Yet after signing his deal amidst tons of controversy, bouncing between 3 different teams, he's having one of the worst seasons of his career. Nobody's really sure why, but today we're going to try and figure it out. And if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe to the Jolly Olive channel. Also ring that bell so you get all notifications for an upload every Saturday. Let's go. Carlos Correa needs no introduction, but to put into scope the kind of player he is, let's backtrack for just a second. The top overall pick in the 2012 MLB draft, Correa made his debut 3 years later at the young age of 20 years old and quickly caught the attention of the baseball world by winning Rookie of the Year and helping the Astros to their first playoff berth in a decade. From 2015 to 2019, he quickly became the face of the Houston Astros and led the team on several remarkable postseason runs, claiming a controversial trophy for himself in 2017. He was the only American League shortstop with 420 homer seasons in the 5 years that followed. He was the only shortstop in baseball in this 5-year window with over 100 home runs and an OPS plus beyond 120. His 18 playoff home runs is tied for 7th all-time baseball history, all of them coming in an Astros uniform. But that's not to say he wasn't a good Minnesota Twin. From 2021 to 2022, between Houston and Minnesota, Correa topped all qualified shortstops in OPS plus and ranked top 3 or better in on-base and slugging as well. He tied the second best single-season OPS plus mark of his career for the Twins last year at 137, even despite a slow start and the team as a whole falling short of the playoffs. If we're being honest, Minnesota was lucky to have Correa in the first place as they signed him to a unique 3-year contract with an opt-out after the first season. Correa originally hit free agency in the offseason following 2021, but after the signings of fellow shortstops like Trevor Story, Javier Baez, and Corey Seager came and went, Correa was surprisingly left without a home. Maybe it was the asking price, but he proved his worth in 2021 and unsurprisingly opted out of the contract, looking to finally secure his landmark big deal. He had plenty of suitors in yet another stacked free agent class this past offseason and originally landed a bombshell, massive contract with the San Francisco Giants, a 13-year, $350 million contract, which would have been the most lucrative deal of any shortstop in baseball. Even with a press conference set up and ready to go, the Giants held concerns over Correa's physical. While their feet grew colder, his agent, Scott Boras, discovered another suitor in the high-spending New York Mets, who agreed to terms on a 12-year, $315 million contract. But the Mets also had concerns over Correa's leg, causing a 3-week holdout with no resolution before finally giving way to another team to try and sign Correa. Despite never spending time on the injured list for this supposedly questionable right leg, a surgery from 8 years prior took Correa from one of the most highly paid baseball players ever to controversy for weeks on end. After originally signing on December 15th, Correa finally returned to the Minnesota Twins a full month later, this time on a 6-year, $200 million contract. He took less than half the guaranteed years and over $100 million less than the original deal he agreed to with the Giants. He even originally declined a deal from the Twins themselves for 4 more years and $85 million more at the beginning of the offseason because he wanted to test the waters. To say this free agency saga was an absolute shock would be an understatement. That is the abridged version of everything that has led us to the 2023 season, and while the story can go a lot deeper in detail, I want to shift our focus to this season specifically because something odd is happening. Carlos Correa is currently enduring his worst career season by far, and at this point, it's hard to say exactly why it's all happening, but let's try to. On April 27th of 2022, last season, Carlos Correa was hitting 167 with a 504 OPS. It was a painfully slow start for the newest Minnesota Twin, but he surged ahead with monster months in May and June to balance out his offense and finish the year strong from there. In fact, you could argue that 2022 was his second best season of his entire career, behind the World Series year in 2017, as he turned in second best career marks for batting average, on-base rate, and OPS OPS+. So when Correa kicked off 2023 with a 202 batting average and 634 OPS, many, including myself, expected a turnaround after shaking off the rust of the first month of the season. But despite his newfound reputation as a slow starter, Correa has still yet to find any sort of rhythm this season. He's yet to amass a 750 OPS in any full month this year, and he struck out more than 20 times in each month as well. He's on pace for his lowest home run total in a full season since 2018, 5 years ago. As soon as he started to heat up in May, plantar fasciitis in his right foot caused him to miss some time and play through some discomfort. There was almost a turning point on June 14th with this walk-off home run against Devin Williams and the Brewers, only to see him hit .211 with an OPS under 600 for the rest of the month. While Correa has been a beacon of consistency throughout his entire career, that's exactly what he's failed to be this season for a Twins team that is still somehow succeeding despite his struggles. Well, actually, I know somehow. It's because the rest of their division isn't really trying. If his 2023 season were to end today, Carlos Correa would finish with a career worst among his full seasons in the following statistics: batting average, on-base percentage, slugging percentage, and OPS. I'm no scientist, but I've heard these stats are pretty important. He's even lost his signature clutch factor, hitting .204 with runners in scoring position and an even worse 130 batting average when there's 2 outs and runners in scoring position. But the most staggering of his career lows, though, comes in his wins above replacement value. Carlos Correa currently ranks outside of the top 150 of any position player to take an at-bat this season in Fangraph's wins above replacement. His current value sits at 1.2 wins. It's the same as his amount from the shortened 2020 season, which wasn't even a terrific regular season for him in the first place. It's only the 7th best value among all Twins position players, despite Correa's paycheck being far and away the most expensive on the team. His 1.2 F-WAR gets even crazier when you compare it to other position players around the league right now. Orlando Arcia has doubled his value in less games at the same position while making 1/15 of Correa's salary this year. Zach Geloff, a rookie for the Oakland A's, has played in just a little over 30 games and has already posted 1.8 F-WAR. Sal Frelick has played less than that and has already matched Correa's 1.2 mark. Travis Jankowski, Mike Tauchman, Willie Castro, Stone Garrett, Jake Fraley, Maikel Garcia, all of these relatively deep-cut names in Major League Baseball have been more valuable than Carlos Correa this season. We could play this game all day with where his numbers are currently at, but instead, let's try and figure out exactly what is wrong with Correa this season. Now, we can start by talking a little bit about bad luck. There's not been much change in his strikeout and walk rates, his batted ball rates, and his contact rates, not to mention that he has the exact same average exit velocity as last year per the recording of this video. Hell, he actually has a higher hard hit rate than any of his prior 3 seasons at over 45% right now. That's a remarkable amount of consistency year to year when you factor in that Carlos Correa has seen a 60-point drop-off in his batting average on balls in play from last year. His mark last season was the second highest of his career, while this year marks the lowest of his career. The shift obviously plays a role here, as it has for many other position players who hit well last year and haven't so far this year. But Carlos Correa doesn't necessarily fit that profile, as he was always someone that could hit to all fields and hit for plenty of power. Because his quality of contact and batted ball rates have stayed roughly the same while his results have worsened, he's seen intense drop-offs in his baseball savant percentile rankings, including dropping over 40 percentiles in expected slugging and expected weighted on-base average. He's also dropped over 60 percentiles in expected batting average, a top 5 steepest drop among all players this season. It hasn't been the only reason, but the biggest reason for this regression? The fastball. Carlos Correa has been getting blown up by 4-seam fastballs of all things. He's seen a decrease of over 100 points on both his batting average and slugging percentage against this pitch from last year to now. He's also been striking out on fastballs a lot more, with a 7% spike from 2022 to this year. It also should be noted that Correa has been rather passive this year, taking more pitches than he ever has before, with one of the highest called strike rates against him of any player in baseball, top 10 in the American League. This season, he's gone down looking on a fastball in the heart zone of the plate 10 times and counting. He only did that 5 times all of last year. I find this so surprising because when you think of the biggest highlights of Correa's career, it's usually him scorching a fastball beyond a fence in a big spot. I understand that these are just moments in time, but Correa has had this reputation for years. It's very perplexing to see the struggles start now, this late in his career, in the first year of a big deal. This isn't to say that off-speed pitches haven't given him trouble either. Correa is currently currently sporting a whiff rate over 30% against off-speed pitches compared to 24.7% last year. This has resulted in a 10% spike in strikeout rate against changeups specifically, going from 21% to 31%. Correa also currently leads the major leagues in double plays grounded into at 24. He had never amassed more than 18 in a season prior, and there's still a month left to go in the season as is. An obvious contributor to this has been Correa's decline in speed, as he currently ranks in the 37th percentile of sprint speed. Just like any other player aging into their 30s, he has steadily declined in this regard with each passing season, but there's a noticeable drop-off in the last 3 seasons specifically. It doesn't help that he's seen a large spike in ground ball rate as well at 5%. There are certainly other minor issues for Correa to point out, but it's definitely worth being said that many of these issues look largely fixable. It's simply unfair to blame all this regression on the ankle concerns that the Mets and Giants had with Correa's physical this offseason. But with Correa in the first year of a new massive deal, Twins fans are certainly hoping that a rebound can be the case. Despite his struggles, no one can deny that Carlos Correa is still incredibly capable of being a clubhouse leader. If and when the Twins claim the AL Central Division crown, Correa will be a threat in that lineup under the lights for the first time in Minnesota. Recently, he's been quoted saying, "I've been struggling all year. That's no secret. I'm not going to put my head down and give up and just say, I'll come back next year and I'll do it for the next 5 or so years. Figure it out right now and put in the work every single day." That's as good of a quote as you can get from a guy making the most money on your team. He's also been playing better of late and has a chance to make this entire video age like milk. There have been many shortstops on big deals that have been struggling all season long, but I highlighted Correa today because I still find his struggles the most shocking in his second year with the Twins. I firmly believe he can turn things down for Twin City, but if he doesn't soon, Minnesota could be staring down the barrel of a very long, very expensive 6-year deal. And that's where things are at with the Carlos Correa saga. The Twins are a talented enough team to be succeeding without his help right now, but if he can turn things around, it's going to change the entire outlook of their playoff hopes. And I'm hoping in the near future, Twins fans can really reap the benefits of what could be a great contract in terms of great value for the kind of player that Carlos Correa is. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you've watched this long, why don't you stick around for a word from today's sponsor, the DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can download their free and easy-to-use app, bet $5 on any wager, and win $150 in bonus bets instantly with promo code OLIVE. There's a lot of things you can bet on at the DraftKings Sportsbook: betting on your favorite team to win, betting on a certain player to hit a home run, betting on a certain pitcher to record as many strikeouts in a game. You can combine all of those bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at an even bigger payday with your bonus bet money. So take advantage of this offer today. There's so many bets to choose from, and all you have to do is bet $5 on any wager, and you can win $150 in bonus bets instantly with promo code OLIVE. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply, so see show notes for details, and any resources you might need for a gambling problem or addiction are listed down below as always. Thank you to DraftKings for sponsoring today's video, and I'll see you guys next week.